Are we up?
Hi guys, I'm Alice, I'm joined by Duck, and today we are talking all about the Momo Challenge. As always, comment your questions down below and we will answer them as we go along.
We will.
But Duck, just to start with, can you just tell me what is the Momo Challenge?
Well, that is an interesting and indeed a difficult question. So let's start at the very beginning. What is Momo, or the mother bird sculpture? So if you're easily frightened, if you're easily scared, if you are about sort of human-animal hybrid sculptures, I'm going to show you a photo. This, I believe, is the artist's own photo of it at an exhibition 2 or 3 years ago in Japan. That is what it looks like. It's basically called the mother bird sculpture, and my understanding is that it's Japanese mythology has this idea of this bird mother who died in childbirth, so there's like sort of some historical background to it. The sculpture was produced by this chap who apparently makes sculptures and animatronic stuff for horror movies, so you can see where this is going. This is an exhibition for adults, not for kids, and what's happened is people have discovered that that image, amongst many others on the internet, if you crop the head out of it, it looks really scary, and guess what? If you've got a scary image, you can use it in creepy and scary ways online. And kind of, that's really all that this boils down to. But it's almost turned into a story that people are using this image to put terrible ideas into children's heads. This image over any other. And that's kind of what it boils down to, unfortunately.
I agree that it's a very creepy sculpture, but why has this particular image become so mainstream?
Well, that's the kind of open question that's very confusing. My understanding, at least in the UK, that something that's got people really excited now, because this story about this particular sculpture, this particular image being used and abused online has come and gone many times over the last couple of years, because it's been discussed as, hey, look how creepy this image is. My understanding is that recently the police in Northern Ireland actually put out a warning on Facebook for parents saying, stop focusing on this image as the problem and use this as a reason to think about what your children see online in general. In other words, they're asking people to not have tunnel vision and open their minds, if you like, and think about being good parents in an online sense. And what this has turned into is, wow, this is the thing to panic about. So it seems that it's got an enormous amount of interest from the media because the image is creepy, because it's got a specific name, the Momo Challenge, and because there are all these stories about, gosh, someone has to think of the children. Really, this is just one of many things that you should be concerned about when it comes to cybersecurity.
So this sounds really similar to the Talking Angela story that happened a while ago. Would you draw any similarities there?
Absolutely. In fact, let me unlock the phone quickly, and I have a picture from back in the day. Talking Angela, she was more friendly. This was a game. That's what she looked like. Many of you may remember her. She's this talking cat, and she's sitting on a pavement cafe in Paris, and it's all perfectly innocent game. You can either talk to her via the microphone or you can type in questions, and she gives vague, amusing AI-type responses. The company that made that game made several other games using the same core engine, sort of game functionality. I think they had a talking parrot, they had a talking dog, but somehow everyone fixated on this cat because reflected in her eye, you could see what was presumably a guy who's supposed to be standing on the other side of the street, and everyone decided there's a paedophile in the cat's eye, my goodness, and this thing got a life of its own, and it became the one thing you had to look out for, and people were urging each other, delete this app should be binned from the App Store. They weren't concerned about all the other perfectly innocent apps from a perfectly innocent game company. Some people were even saying, oh, well, the app's got this paedophile in it, so you can carry on using the app, but cover up your camera in case it takes a picture. I mean, really, if you distrust the app that much, what on earth would you be doing continuing to run it anyway? So the Talking Angela hoax, or the Talking Angela fears, they were completely unfounded. It was exactly the same idea, and I sort of understand it. You get this one particular thing that everyone's talking about it that you can go and look out for. It kind of makes cybersecurity seem a lot simpler than it really is. If there's only one thing you have to look out for that you can either find your children involved with or not, rather than actually worrying about a whole load of lifestyle choices. And so I think there are great similarities. It looks scary, it's something you could do something about, this one image, and then you can kind of relax about all of the other bad things that might happen to your kids online. I think that's where this is coming from, to be honest.
So what's your advice for people out there who are worried about the Momo challenge and other challenges like this that might arise in children's content?
Pretty much what the police in Northern Ireland, the message they were trying to get across, that seems to be misinterpreted as them saying, you should be very scared about this picture. What they're saying is, if you're prepared to suddenly to become concerned about cybersecurity on the basis of this Momo challenge story alone, then that's a kind of a good start if you haven't worried about cybersecurity and your kids at all before. But this is not really the beginning, and it certainly isn't the end of online security for your children. So don't get fixated on individual stories just because they're enormously in the news. If you're allowing your kids to watch videos unsupervised, they could contain inappropriate material that could harm or confuse or scare or even abuse your kids online. There are many more examples than this. And so what worries me is the idea that that when you get stories like Talking Angela is bad for you, the Momo challenge, this particular mother bird sculpture is bad for you. I think the real risk is if you read too much into that one story, basically you kind of end up with internet cybersecurity tunnel vision. And when it comes to yourself, that's bad enough. When it comes to your kids, that's even worse because you're looking out for something that isn't enough to save them on its own. So think broad. Cybersecurity is not something that comes in tiny little postage stamp sized problems that you can paste over tiny little holes. It's not like fixing a puncture in a tire. It's like learning to ride or drive safely altogether.
Perfect. Thanks so much for your opinion, as always, Duck. And if you do have any questions, then do comment below and we'll get back to you when we can.
And may I just say, because we have some gaffes here, happy spring, folks. It's been very springtimey weather in the United Kingdom. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, I hope your weather is bucking up too.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.